Hi there. So I am doing my presentation here on uncovering literacies in Savage. This is part three of our place-based profile. And I think kind of by design, this is sort of a rough draft of what I want to do my final project on for this class. So I will take you through kind of a recap of parts one and two, and then I'll get into the assignment here. So, as I wrote in my paper, if you were to look at Savage, you might say there's not much there, but that's not entirely true. Down here at the bottom of the map, we have our gas station. There's also a butcher shop here called Craig's Meats. Highly recommend the jerky there, by the way. If you continue going up on Montana 16, actually around here, I don't have this in here yet. I might add it into my map later on. There is a agate shop, and there's also a cafe that just opened up there. This is our schoolhouse museum, which is a museum depicting kind of what a one-room schoolhouse was like. Burns Creek Inn is the bar in our community. We do have a grain elevator that I think is no longer in operation, but that's what that signifies there as well. Also along Main Street here, and again, these are things that I will probably go back and add to my official map, but I, for reasons, have to record now. Uh, are a couple of family-owned businesses. There's an auto repair shop and Prairie Electric. They're owned and operated by two men in the community, and so there's that as well. Obviously, if you get down in the lower part of the map, there's the school, which obviously has great educational opportunities for people. This is the manor, the Savage Sunrise Manor, and it's actually directly across from the ball field. That is the town's assisted living facility. Just to kind of give you a frame of reference, that is basically where my house is. Um, Also, another amenity in the town. Sorry, this is kind of scattered. It's more organized in my paper, I promise. Is the canal here, and the canal is kind of something that gives a lot of life to the community in terms of providing water for farmers to do their crops, mostly sugar beets, and then the Yellowstone River is beyond that. So there's actually quite a lot in Savage. You wouldn't know it if you were just going by. So, what literacies are there here? And I always kind of struggle with this question because I know there's like literacies that surround bars and gas stations and things like that, places of business. But to me, they don't count because they're not personable to that location. They're not like kind of location specific, or they just, a menu is a menu, right? But there are some literacies that I talked about in there. One is that there are literacies of hard work and what it takes. Our gas station opened up after it was broken into a couple years ago. Uh, those literacies of hard work are with the businesses along Main Street that are family operated. There's a literacy of community at the bar. One of my favorite things is because everyone goes there and that's just where they eat. And so you'll go down to the elementary on like Thursdays and Fridays, and you'll hear these third and fourth graders asking each other, "Hey, are you going to the bar this weekend?" And I just like feel like there's a literacy of community there. There's that literacy of caring with our assisted living facility, and not only the care that they give to the residents, but the care that the community gives to the facility itself in terms of fundraising. And then obviously there's literacies around education and writing and care tied up in the school. There's literacies to help save the canal and things like that. So there are literacies that are going on here, but to me, I think one of the biggest problems that I find when I was trying to do this assignment is that these literacies are not actively being discussed or actively being written down, which leads me to the thing that you probably noticed first about it, or if you didn't, you noticed it when I accidentally hit forward on my slide, is that I put a "Here Be Dragons" sign in the middle of my map of literacies in Savage. This is a nod, obviously, to the denoter of kind of the unknown in old seafaring maps. They didn't know it was there, so here be dragons, be afraid of this place. And sometimes I sort of feel that that is kind of like what the Sydney Herald has about Savage. Savage does not have its own newspaper. There is a school newsletter, and there are some church newsletters as well. But really, that's it. When it comes to other people outside of our community knowing of our story, there's not a whole lot there. I ran an advanced search on the Sydney Herald's website the other day, just for information regarding the town of Savage from the last school year, and pretty much they were all sports related. We got a new superintendent that was not covered by the Sydney Herald. We had a new restaurant open in town that was not covered by the Herald. The only thing that's really covered by the Herald and Savage has to do with sports. There are a few things here and there, but for the most part, that's all this town gets in terms of coverage, and I don't think that's right. And so what I was sort of thinking with this assignment was, what if my students were the ones that were able to kind of tell these stories? So this is the assignment. And again, I'm going to be teaching a place-based writing course this fall, maybe into the spring as well. We'll kind of see how it goes. The focus of that class is to kind of write about the importance of the canal, but I also want to tell the story of here. I want to tell the story of Savage, and I want to see how many different avenues we can do that in. And so one of the things that I might do is tell my students, find a story in the community that needs telling, or even find a story that you are not familiar with. One of the examples that comes to mind here is that I know at Craig's Meats, a lot of Hispanic immigrants work there. Maybe I shouldn't say a lot, because the town population isn't that big, but a number of them do. And we do have some of their students in our school. We do have Spanish speakers in our community. And I personally just want to know what their story is. Or for the people that have, for instance, for the woman who opened up the Highway 16 Cafe, what did it take for her to be able to do that this year? This is a story that I think is worth telling. And it's a story that, people probably don't know. I think it's very interesting. We do kind of live in this culture where people are writing all the time, Facebook posts and tweets and Snapchats and all that. But I do sometimes wonder if we're missing a level of understanding when we get into that. And so some of the other questions that I would ask my students then is, how does it fit into our understanding of place? The cumulative understanding that we are coming to as a class with this assignment. And then how does it fit into your understanding of this place? What do you learn about Savage, maybe being a lifelong resident yourself, or someone who's lived here for the bulk of your formative years? What do you see in it? So how does this work with Savage? Well, I think it tells stories of what we don't know. And I think one of the things that I kind of reflected on into this assignment is this is a small community, and I was thinking about how much I still don't know about it. Part of that is because I'm kind of an introvert. I don't go out very much. But also part of it is maybe I haven't been looking for it, or maybe it's just I don't know how to find it. It gives us a record of the people here and their stories, and I think this is really important. We do here at the school have a collection of historical writings that our former history teacher worked really hard and did an amazing job compiling. And I almost think it's time to do that again, right? Like there's kind of a book of narratives about how did you get to this area? What do you do here? And those are kind of interesting to read. And I think it's almost time to do that again, to some degree, and maybe tell the stories of people that we don't know. I also think that this writing, the course as a whole, but an assignment like this, or the individual assignments, is a way to maybe help bring the community together outside of sports. Um, if you spend any amount of time in a rural setting, I think anywhere, but especially in Montana, how big sports are. The gym is packed every Friday and Saturday night in the winter. Fall Fridays, we got the football field kind of jumping. Um, had an outstanding volleyball season last year, and they were packing the gym. And those places, and that's like a social gathering too. After it's almost, it's good that those things happen on Fridays, because at the end of the week you come together and you talk about things. Then you go to the bar and you analyze the game, right? But I think there are avenues in which we can bring the community together outside of sports, and I think this is one of them. One of the things that, and I'm just going to steal Dr. Woe's idea, because I was talking to her earlier, is having readings from this assignment take place at the bar or maybe in the museum, because one of the things that I write about is that not many people go to the museum. It's not open all the time. You got a key to get in. Having kind of public readings or something like that, uh, that maybe draws in the community and they can talk about that. And so that's one of the things that I think helps it work with Savage. How does it work against Savage? Um, and sometimes people are private for a reason. It's kind of my thing, and it might be hard to get this. Though we did, elementary teachers did an assignment, not exactly like this, but they invited people in to tell kind of their story to their classes and give little talks about their lives in Savage and what they do, and the community was very receptive to that. But I do kind of worry about, because just to go back to one of the examples that I have of the people that work at Craig's Meats, the immigrants that work there, do they want their stories told? I do not know uh, the immigration status of those individuals. I want their stories to be told. I want them to have a voice in the community, but quite possibly they keep themselves separate for a reason. And there could be ramifications for telling those stories. And that's something that would be difficult to navigate, I think, for students. I think it's worthwhile doing that. It's quite possible if we used pseudonyms or something like that, that might help. But that's one of the things that I kind of see as maybe being a roadblock to that. I think one of the other roadblocks that I just kind of foresee is maybe sometimes you have students that kind of settle for the known. And these types of assignments, I apologize, this isn't on the list, but I'm kind of just sort of freewheeling it here. But students will sort of settle for the unknown, or for the known, excuse me, the kind of the familiar. And when they do that, I think this assignment that could be really cool and really neat. It's just kind of a retelling of what is already known. And then that maybe reinforces the message that there's nothing of note in this town. So that's something that I'll have to kind of work with the students, is to really push themselves to figure out what is known and what is unknown. And basically what I really want to do is I want to get rid of this sign. I want to get rid of the Here Be Dragons sign that I really felt almost compelled to put on my map. I want this to be a place that is known, and I want the people to take pride in it, and I want my students to take pride in it. And that isn't to say that this place is perfect. No place is, but I think you can be proud of a place despite its imperfections, and maybe because of its imperfections. And I want my students to be able to do that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm looking forward to the feedback on this, looking forward to the discussions on this, and I can't wait to teach it. So thank you.